Now, many of you have probably heard about Gibraltar, but have you ever stopped to wonder why this tiny country is so important? Gibraltar is this tiny enclave of Great Britain located at the southern tip of Iberian Peninsula, aka Spain. Yep, if you chop this bit off, you could get a self-governing British overseas territory. It is also one of the two naval access points to the Mediterranean, the first one being the Suez Canal. Yeah, you can probably see why this is problematic, which is also controlled by Egypt and raises toll on the passage. The second other entry point is the Strait of Gibraltar. Oh no, the Strait of Gibraltar, with minimal width of 13 kilometers, which is too wide to be easily controlled by anybody. Therefore, there is also no toll on crossing. It is considered to be one of the busiest and crowded waterways in the world. On a clear day, you can see Morocco from the Europa Lighthouse, located at the southernmost tip of Gibraltar. There is also a ferry operating an intercontinental service from there to Morocco. At the 13th kilometer's width, it isn't such a stretch. Also, according to Greek mythology, Gibraltar was the location of one of two pillars of Hercules, the second one being located in Morocco. Hercules allegedly built those pillars in order to liberate Atlas from the burden of holding the heaven. Yes, Gibraltar literally holds the heaven up in the sky. Not bad. Due to its convenient geographical location, Gibraltar has always been attracting much attention. Eventually, it caught the eye of one of the biggest colonial naval powers of the time. Yes, you guessed it right, the British. Spain was already controlling other convenient spots in the area such as Tarifa and Ceuta, but let's start from the beginning. The human history of Gibraltar started counting around 100,000 years ago, when Neanderthals inhabited limestone caves of Gibraltar. The first official settlement was founded in 711 AD by Moors of Tariq ibn Ziyad. The area was called after him Jabal al-Tariq in Arabic, which translates to Mountain of Tariq. The Spanish name Gibraltar is just basically abbreviated from that. Jabal al-Tariq, Gibraltar, you get me. For many years and countless sages, the most powerful nations of the time such as France, Spain and Britain were fighting for control over this territory. Eventually, in 1704, Gibraltar was captured by a British fleet during the War of Spanish Succession, and since 1713 with Treaty of Utrecht it has been recognized as British. Yes, as usual, the British just decided to stick a flag in it. All these wars were fought only in order to gain control of the Strait of Gibraltar, because the one who controls the strait controls the trade, and a big portion of goods is still transported on ships also nowadays.
So what about Gibraltar today? Gibraltar has a population of about 30,000 inhabitants on the area of only 6.8 square kilometers, which makes it a country with the fifth highest population density in the world. To help you imagine how small this country is, let me tell you that the main road in Gibraltar closes every time a plane lands because it's also the runway. The road runs the whole length of the island, and when there are no planes landing, you can walk. Gibraltar is also home to about 300 macaques, which were close to extinction during the Second World War, and Winston Churchill helped to preserve the population by importing some more from North Africa. Gibraltar also still serves as UK's military base, with about 1,200 soldiers being stationed. The official language of Gibraltar is English, but many inhabitants speak Spanish or their own local pidgin language called Janito. Since Gibraltar is a UK territory, you can pay there in pounds, but contrary to UK, people drive on the right side like in continental Europe. Gibraltar is in the same time zone as Spain. There is no VAT, value-added tax, on goods in Gibraltar. That's why you can see tourists stocking up on booze and cigarettes before leaving the country. Gibraltar's economy mostly relies on the income from tourism thanks to its sweet beaches. Another touristic attraction is the wedding industry. Getting married in Gibraltar is an unbureaucratic act, and you can get married with only 24 hours notice, which makes it a popular destination. That's also why some popular people decided to tie the knot there, such as John Lennon and Yoko Ono, Princess Diana, and Sean Connery. To enter Gibraltar from the Spanish mainland, you have to cross La Línea de la Concepción, or simply La Línea, which is, by the way, the only official way to enter the territory. The name La Línea means a line or a border in this context, and La Concepción being a hint on the Immaculate Conception of Mother Mary and therefore the creation of little baby Jesus. The other option is entering Gibraltar via the airway. Gibraltar used to be viewed as a symbol of the British naval power, and is commonly referred to as the Rock. Oops, not Dead Rock. Dead Rock. So as you can see, the reason the British absolutely want to keep the Gibraltar is because it's such a rocking good asset. Also, the rock is inhabited by these cute and cheeky apes, and it's rumored that once the apes leave the rock, the British will leave as well. Just for your imagination, the rock is actually pretty massive, with its height of 426 meters being taller than the Empire State Building by more than 30 meters. Unless you count the tip, of course, but that would be cheating. The rock is also portrayed on the logo of the Prudential Insurance Company based in Newark, New Jersey. It's also famous for its Europa Point, or Punta de Europa, which is the point separating the water bodies of the Atlantic Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea. Those two couldn't be more different, with the levels of salinity of the Mediterranean Sea reaching the level of up to 38 grams of salt per liter, whereas the Atlantic Ocean is considerably milder, with about 34.9 grams per liter. That's also why you feel so much lighter swimming in the Mediterranean compared to the ocean. For comparison, the Dead Sea has over 280 grams per liter, and you can't swim there. Well, you can float instead. Punta de Europa is located at the southernmost point of the Iberian Peninsula. Punta de Tarifa is located opposite of the Punta de Europa. As you've probably rightly guessed, the names are in Jamaica, the local language. Now let's take a quick look at the Gibraltar's flag. Why is there a weird key hanging down there like that? First thing that strikes the eye is that it's the only flag of the British Overseas Territories which does not feature the Union Jack. The flag was adopted in 1982, and the castle in the middle is supposed to symbolize the fortress of Gibraltar, and the key is supposed to symbolize the key to Spain and the Mediterranean. The remnants of Gibraltar's military history can be found everywhere. The rock itself used to serve as a military base, with its height being a perfect vantage point. In the past centuries, it offered great view of approaching ships. In the present days, it is used mainly for transmitting military communication. The cost of the British military base in Gibraltar are more than £70 million a year. This is still a bargain compared to £250 million for the base in Cyprus and £235 million paid for a military presence in Germany. There's a whole labyrinth of tunnels underneath Gibraltar. These tunnels were constructed during a span of more than 200 years, most of them originating from during the Great Siege between 1779 and 1782. This conflict took place during the American Independence War, when Spain and France attempted to seize control of Gibraltar from the British. France and Spain sided with the rebellious American colonies, using this mostly as a pretext to enter into war with Britain to pursue their own goals, with Spain attempting to gain control over Gibraltar once again. The British had less than 7,000 men and 96 guns, whereas French and Spanish together counted more than 40,000 men and 246 guns. During the siege, Gibraltar found itself being attacked by Spain from both land and the sea. George August Elliot was the British governor at the time and in charge of the defense. As the steep hills of the rock did not allow for placement of cannons in order to protect themselves from attacking ships, the British decided to dig out a system of tunnels to fire the cannons from them. These tactics proved to be a success, and after 3 years, 7 months, and 12 days, the British won. But the struggle to gain control over Gibraltar, and thus the Strait of Gibraltar, didn't stop there. There are records of Spain actively aiding Nazi Germany during the Second World War in destabilizing the British rule in Gibraltar by espionage and sabotage. General Francisco Franco was obviously not helping Nazis just for the fun of doing it, but pursuing his own goals, such as financing the Spanish Civil War, which took place from 1936 to 1939, just before the Second World War. Without foreign help, his victory wouldn't have been possible. However, historians have discovered that both parties at the time, the nationalists and the rebels, had published support from abroad. Without this money, the conflict would have been of much shorter duration. In spite of maintaining a neutral, or at least non-belligerent status during the Second World War in theory, it is true that Spain was leaning towards cooperating with the Axis for the bigger part of the war. Only when Hitler's downfall became apparent, it started rowing backwards to maintain the facade of neutrality. But back to Gibraltar. In exchange for the help during the Spanish Civil War, Franco was cooperating with Nazi Germany, which eventually launched the Operation Felix in order to seize Gibraltar. From there, Nazis planned to invade northern Africa and effectively cut off the southern part of the British Empire. At the same time, Spain should gain control over Gibraltar after having joined the Axis. Franco eventually denied Hitler help with the operation due to concerns on account of Germany being able to support and eliminate Spain depleted by the Civil War. After a meeting with Franco, Hitler allegedly told Mussolini on account of the negotiations, "I would rather have 4 of my own teeth pulled out than go through another meeting with that man again." Since Germany was incapable of supporting the starving Spain, the country had to rely on trade with the Allies. By controlling the trade and forming unions, Great Britain prevented Spain from becoming too strong and joining the war. Nazi Germany initially only adjourned the invasion for after conquering the Soviet Union and eventually abandoned the plan altogether.
Gibraltar's role as a strategic geographical point for controlling the Mediterranean waters remained unrivaled until today. In the course of decolonizing the history, much has been spoken on regard of sovereignty of Gibraltar. Spain has undertaken numerous efforts to reclaim the territory. Eventually, in 2001, Jack Straw, the British Foreign Secretary, began discussing the possibility of shared sovereignty. This led to a referendum held on the 7th of November 2002 on whether UK and Spain should share sovereignty over Gibraltar. Sir Peter Caruana, the Chief Minister of Gibraltar, commented the result with the sovereign sovereignty would be a dead-end road forever. A landslide majority of the votes decided to remain under the Union Jack. Gibraltar, similar to UK, ceased to be part of the European Union upon Britain's exit. Brexit could complicate Gibraltar's situation even further, since the post-Brexit negotiations between Spain and the UK concerning border control and La Verja, as the area is also called, aren't making any progress. Hard external EU border would make lives of 10,000 commuters much harder, because Gibraltar is now technically considered a non-EU territory. Hard border would mean implementing the usual Schengen controls, including both goods and passengers. Before that, the border crossing between Gibraltar and Spain was usually unbureaucratic and didn't always involve passport checks. This, and already low level of employment in the area, could only incentivize more illicit activities and drug trafficking into the EU. However, it is unlikely that Spanish claim on Gibraltar could be successful in the future. In spite of all the political turmoil, Gibraltar's key role in enabling British to control the safe passage of cargo, oil tankers, and commercial vessels into the Mediterranean remains unchanged. Gibraltar is also a symbol of British colonial sentiment. Losing yet another country would mean a hard hit for the ego of the once naval superempire. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe and comment. Stay tuned, there are new videos in the pipeline coming out soon.